Lizzie, what gave you the idea for Alchemy of Blue?
I walk daily along this beach and I am often pocketing things, and one of the things that sparked my interest was little flecks of blue amongst the pebbles, and what they ended up being was parts of the pool that have broken away and become sea washed so that they resembled pebbles. So I was filling my pockets up with these and not really knowing what I was going to be doing with them, or if I was going to be doing anything with them. And a couple of years passed, and then I learned that the pool was to be relined. And at first I was dismayed that those little pebbles of blue might disappear. In fact, they haven't. I'm still picking them up every day. But what I arrived at was that there would be huge chunks of concrete coming out of the pool, and that I could do something with those. And I turned these ideas over in my mind, I guess, like in the same way that I turned the pebbles over in my head, in my hand, and the project developed.
Because you've lived in this place for a while, and I think when you live in this place, you can't help but kind of key in to things like the weather and the tides and all the sorts of natural phenomena and beauty of this place. So can you say something about how that has impacted on you?
The weather here is a huge feature of everyday life. The sea is obviously a huge feature, and we're sandwiched on this small wedge of land, and the escarpment is right there, so it has its own weather patterns. So when I began to think about the project, I was thinking about the tides and the moon and how the moon shapes our coastal landscape because it dictates the tides, and because this pool is a tidal pool, it coalesced into a project about the moon and tides and lunar rhythms.
So you did a couple of outdoor installations here on this rock shelf as a part of the process, didn't you, of the Alchemy of Blue sort of evolving? So can you talk a little bit about what you did here?
When I was thinking about doing something, an intervention on the platform, I realised that it could work with the moon cycles. So I thought about doing a full moon to start off with, and brought the rocks down that were stored in my garage. And we had about 10 people, and we made the shape of a circle on the rocks in front of the pool to celebrate the moon. And then in October we did an inversion of that circle by using fragments of the pool that we found on site. So that the first moon we kind of laboriously brought the blue material down, and we took it back up to my house that day because it's the material that I'm using in the exhibition. But the second one was a lot more simple in the fact that there's a lot of concrete still on this site, and we collected that and made the shape of the moon as an inversion with a stack of kids and dogs and a barbecue and sausages. I find these pieces of concrete really beautiful. The more I work with them, the more the aesthetic grows on me. And there's such difference in there's real subtleties in the texture and the surface, and even the colour of the paint varies enormously because it's been partly submerged for most of its life. It's worn with the sea and the sun, and some of it's crackled, and some's got lots of aggregate. And there's still oysters stuck to lots of them. which is just so beautiful. I've had little bits of sea life fall off today. Long dead, but still attached. This is absolutely by far the most challenging work I've ever done. Yeah, when I'm working on this kind of scale and with so many unknowns, the engineering in particular has been fairly stressful at times, but completely resolvable, and the people I was working with were really fantastic. 19. So essentially, I guess I'm engaged in my journey, and I feel really supported through my community. And if no one else enjoys the work, that's okay with me. But I don't think that will be the case. I do think there'll be a mixed response, and I am really curious about what that response is, but I haven't thought too much about what I think that response will be.
The idea is that we look at projects, or are interested in projects that have something to say about where we live, who we are, and we're particularly interested in contemporary projects that have points of access for the local community, that engage the local community. And so when we saw Lizzie's proposal, it ticked all the boxes. It was something that we thought was going to be interesting and would be a really engaging exhibition for the broader community. Well, one of the things that interests me about that is the fact that we're actually doing something that takes the material away from where we would expect to see it and create a surprise. That it's bits of broken concrete in a gallery setting in the first instance is something that you wouldn't expect to see. And in this particular instance, where we actually turned the whole idea of concrete on its head, because it's a heavy material, something that we think has a mass and it's weighty, but the way that Lizzie is approaching it is that she's suspending it, so giving it sort of this almost ethereal quality so that it's floating. So straight away it sort of changes our point of view, the way that we're looking at the material. So there's many different things that I think people will be able to question, and hopefully through the process of engaging with the exhibition, get surprised. This particular work had a life. The pieces, individual pieces, were part of the rock pool before. Now they're being reconstructed in a different way, in a different context, but that story still exists and it's still there. So there's sort of these layers of meaning, which I think is more powerful in some ways than just looking at a painting. It can be something that really draws you in. There's a history of the objects prior to being in exhibition, and they have a story, on their own, and then they've been recontextualised within a gallery setting. And I think that's really kind of a powerful thing for a gallery to be able to do, to provide an opportunity for artists to present an installation which is like an environment in a way that provides a different experience than just viewing. You're not just viewing the work, but you're experiencing it in a very different way.